Here we have a SAT math problem. Okay, let's go to the question. The scatterplot shows the relationship between the number of sandwiches sold on a given day Y at a restaurant and the number of days after February 1 X. The average rate of change in sandwiches per day of the number of sandwiches a restaurant sold on February 4 to the number of sandwiches a restaurant sold on February 8 is equal to A. The average rate of change in sandwiches per day of the number of sandwiches a restaurant sold on February 7 to the number of sandwiches a restaurant sold on February 11 is equal to B. The number B is a P% greater than the number A. What is the value of P rounded to the nearest hundredth? Okay, here Y represents the number of sandwiches sold on a given day by the restaurant and X represents the number of days after February. Okay, first let me write February 1. Okay, the value of X corresponding to February 1 is X equals to 0 because X represents the number of days after February 1. Then February 1 represents X equals to 0. Now let me consider February 4. Let me write over here. We know that we'll have February 4 after 3 days of February 1. Then the value of X corresponding to February 4 is X equals to 3. That is 3 days after February 1. Okay, now let me consider February 8. Okay, here we'll have February 8 after 7 days of February 1. Then the value of X corresponding to February 8 is 7. That is X equals to 7. Okay, now let me consider February 7. Okay, February 7 will have after 6 days of February 1, then we have X equals to 6. Let me consider February 11. We'll have February 11 after 10 days of February 1, then we have X equals to 10. Okay, X equals to 0 is the origin over here in the XY plane. So here we have February 1. And for February 4, the corresponding X value is 3. So when I consider the value 3 on the X-axis, on the horizontal axis over here, it represents February 4. Now let me consider the value 7 on the X-axis, that is middle value of 6 and 8. So this 7 represents February 8. And let me consider the value 6 on the X-axis. This 6 represents February 7. And let me consider the value 10 on the X-axis. This 10 represents February 11. Okay, now let me consider this information. That is the average rate of change from February 4 to February 8. Okay, now let me go to the point corresponding to February 4. February 4 means X equals to 3. Okay, let me consider the value 3 on the X-axis. Corresponding to this 3, the point we have over here. Okay, so at this point, the X coordinate is 3 and Y coordinate is 4. That is 3 days after February 1st, that is on February 4th, number of sandwiches sold by the restaurant is 4. Okay, now let me go to February 8. February 8 means X equals to 7. That is, we have to go to the value 7 on the X-axis. Corresponding to this value 7 on the X-axis. So this is a point we have. And here the X coordinate is 7. And corresponding Y coordinate is the middle value of 10 and 12. That is 11. Okay, 7 days after February 1st. That is on February 8. The number of sandwiches sold by the restaurant is 11. Okay, now let me connect these 2 points by a line segment. Now, let me consider the information we have over here. That is the average rate of change from February 4 to February 8 is A. So here A equals to. Now, to get the average rate of change from February 4 to February 8, I have to get the slope of the line segment I have drawn over here. Here we have 2 endpoints of this line segment. So we can use the formula y2 negative y1 divided by x2 negative x1 to get the slope of the line segment we have over here. For that, we have to consider 3, 4 as the point x1, y1 and 7, 11 as the point x2, y2. Okay, now what we have to do is we have to plug in values for y2, y1, x2, x1 over here. The value of y2 is 11 and the value of y1 is 4 and the value of x2 is 7, the value of x1 is 3. So 11 negative 4 is 7 and 7 negative 3 is 4. Okay, here I got the average rate of change from February 4 to February 8. That's the value of A. So the value of A is 7 over 4. Now, let me consider the 2 dates, February 7 and February 11. Okay, corresponding to February 7, we have X equals to 6. Okay, now let me go to the value 6 on the X-axis. It is over here. Corresponding to this value 6, this is a point we have. At this point, the X coordinate is 6 and the Y coordinate is 2. Okay, that is 6 days after February 1st. That is on February 7th, the number of sandwiches sold by the restaurant is 2. Okay, now let me consider February 11. Corresponding to this date, we have X equals to 10. Let me go to the value 10 on the X-axis. It is over here. Corresponding to this value, this is a point we have. At this point, the X coordinate is 10 and the Y coordinate is 14. Okay, that is 10 days after February 1st. That is on February 11, the number of sandwiches sold is 14. Okay, now let me connect these 2 points using a line segment over here. Now, let me consider the information we have over here. That is the average rate of change from February 7 to February 11 is B. Okay, let me write over here. Now, to get the average rate of change from February 7 to February 11, that's a value of B. I have to get the slope of the line segment over here. Okay, here we have the two endpoints for this line segment. We can consider the first point over here as x1, y1 and the second point x2, y2. Again, we can use the same formula to get the slope of a line segment, that is y2 negative y1 divided by x2 negative x1. Now let's plug in the values over here. For y2 we have 14 and for y1 we have 2 and for x2 we have 10 and for x1 we have 6. 14 negative 2 is 12 and 10 negative 6 is 4. 12 divided by 6 is 3. Okay, here I got the values of A and B. Okay, now let's consider this particular piece of information. The number B is a P% greater than the number A. Okay, now let me write this one as an equation. That is the number B equals to P% greater than. P% greater than means we have to add that P to 100 percentage. Then the number A means times A. Okay, here B equals to 100 positive P divided by 100. I have written this percentage as a fraction times A. Now let's plug in values for B and A over here. We know that B equals to 3. Let's plug in 3 for this B. Then we get 3 equals to 100 positive P divided by 100. And for A, we have the value 7 over 4. Let's plug in 7 over 4 for A. We get 3 equals to, now we can multiply this binomial 100 positive P and the number 7. That is, we have to distribute this 7 to this 100 and positive P. Then I'm getting 700 positive 7P. Okay, here we can multiply the two denominators 100 and 4. Then I'm getting 400. Okay, now to get the denominator 400, we have to multiply both sides of this equation by 400. Let me do it. Then this 400 and 400 will cancel out. Okay, let me continue over here. On the left side, 400 times 3 is 1200. On the right side, we have 700 positive 7P. Okay, we have to solve for P in this equation. Okay, let me subtract 700 from both sides of this equation. Then positive 700, negative 700 will cancel out. When I simplify this stuff over here, I'm getting 500 on the left side. On the right side, we get 7P. Let me divide both sides of this equation by 7. Then this 7 will cancel out. When I divide 500 by 7 on the left side, I'm getting a very long decimal, that is 71.4285, and it keeps going. On the right side, we have P. According to the instruction, we have to find the value of P and it has to be rounded to the nearest hundredth. Okay, here we got the value of P, but it has to be rounded to the nearest hundredth. When I round this value to the nearest hundredth, I'm getting 71.43. Therefore, the value of P is about 71.43.